The Golding Group Strategic Growth Podcast, formerly known as the NeoMarketing Podcast, offers real-world advice, expert analysis, and smart success strategies for entrepreneurs, investors, decision makers, and business leaders.
Episode 135, 2022 Business Trend Predictions. Build a business around this. Curation services.
Right.
Not just we sell t-shirts,
Right.
but we sell a selection of t-shirts that fit a specific lifestyle or a specific topic or to a specific consumer for a specific reason.
Mm-hmm.
Curation of these are like-minded products. Maybe they're not all t-shirts. Maybe they're t-shirts, hats, and sweatshirts and keychains and something else. Or maybe it's food, or maybe it's something to do with Harry Potter, things of this nature. And even then, it's not just everything that ever had to do with Harry Potter. It's the best things, the most specific,
Right.
whatever it is. But
Right.
being the curator and finding ways to get yourself paid to be that curator, or if you're the producer, curating your things so that you make the consumer shopping experience different, better,
Right.
something unexpected.
Right.
These are opportunities because consumers are experimenting.
Exactly. And their behavior has been evolving for a while.
Yeah.
We got pushed off the cliff in 2020 with COVID. But yeah, I mean, that makes infinite sense because if you go to a site for a particular product and they're offering things that are related to that, you probably will end up spending more time and more money.
Yes, the likelihood of being the same consumer target audience.
Yeah.
And if you're the curator, if you're providing a service, this isn't just explaining. It's actual exploration. It has to go deeper. Mm-hmm. Not being a personal shopper who follows a list you give them,
right.
but someone who actively goes out and seeks and curates. That puts together things you wouldn't find elsewise and then explains why these things go together. And if you're interested in this, if you're excited about this idea, these other things should explain to you, or should connect to you for these reasons. Episode 137, Top Trend for 2022, Data Activation. Consumers are the most sophisticated they've ever been as far as being consumers and understanding marketing and advertising.
Yeah.
Consumers in 2022 are as sophisticated as they've ever been. They understand their data is being collected all day, every day.
Right.
Now, some people are pretty unhappy about that. Some people don't care, and there's a lot in between, right?
And there are some that are oblivious.
Right. But we all understand our data is being collected.
Right.
And then there's tons and tons of personal data about us that we volunteer up.
Right.
When you use a search engine, whatever you're searching for is connected to who you are, and typically that's connected through your online profile and an email address or something of that nature.
Right.
So what are you searching for? If you do any online shopping, all of that is connected.
Yep.
Activities.
That's how Google has gotten so rich.
That's right. All of our entertainment is digital now.
Right.
It's very rare you're getting stuff over the air, from the big networks. It's all coming through a box of some sort that's connected to the internet. All that data is being collected, going back to your profile. And there's a good amount of this. Again, we are volunteering. When you use a search engine, when you go to the website of Home Depot or Walmart or Amazon or any of those things, they're tracking what you're doing, and you know it. And some people will try to hide it, VPNs and things of that nature. But the reason people volunteer that information is they want back the customization of the experience.
Right. They want something that's more attuned to what they would be looking for anyway.
Right. Episode 139, Common Startup and Small Business Mistakes. When you hire a third party, when you hire a marketing expert, hire a development consultant, you hire a project manager, you hire someone because you need what they have, expertise, skills, bandwidth, etc., at a specific time. Let them do the thing you need them to do. How dumb is it to hire someone, spend money, put effort into it, and then take all of the recommendations, all of the things they bring to you, all of the things they provide you, and then ignore it?
Right. And we won't mention the client, but we've had that happen to us.
We've mentioned many of those clients.
Right, exactly.
You don't go to a restaurant, ask the chef to prepare the meal for you, and as soon as you get to the table, take one bite and throw the rest of it on the floor because you like hot dogs at home out of the microwave.
Right.
Well, you should have stayed home and made microwave hot dogs.
Right.
As opposed to spending the time, spending the money, and have someone providing you something that's expertly crafted, that you then ignore because it isn't exactly what you thought it was going to be going in.
Right.
That's business, right? How many times do we talk about businesses adopt, change?
It goes against your preconceived notions.
That's right.
So that's why you needed the expert.
That's exactly why you need the expert. You're bringing in experts, typically third party, because you've hit a plateau, you've hit a wall. There's something you need to get to the next level. There's things you're missing. There's expertise you're missing or skill set that you're missing. Let them bring it. Let them do what they do, learn from that experience, and then use it to develop. And again, this goes back to patience. Develop what you can be in the future. But why would you spend time and money on something that you're going to ignore anyways?
Well, and it makes me wonder what the heck you were doing when you had the initial conversations with that person.
And typically, when I find people bring in individuals like us and then they ignore us, is they were pressured to by the other people in the business who could see clearly. And there's someone in leadership whose own opinion, their own ego, their own, it's my way or the highway, is sabotaging the process. So don't be that person. Don't be that guy or girl. Don't be that leader. Be open to the process. Understand no one knows everything. No one can do everything.
Right.
So when there are things you don't have internally that you don't have in front of you, bring in people to help you with it and bring it in. Right. Actually take it in, utilize it, let whatever you paid them for it, $1, $10,000, $100,000, $50, $500, whatever you paid for it, you want ROI. You want positive results from that.
Right.
Utilize it as long as possible, as maximized as possible so that you get that positive ROI. Episode 142, new name for the former NeoMarketing podcast. There's data. There's math. There's hard numbers. Then there are...
Well, don't scare them off. It's not much in the way of math.
There's people involved as well. There's got to be some math, right? How much money can you make? What's the scope of your industry? How much market share do you have now? Or what will it take to get market share?
Or what are these numbers telling me? Sure.
At the same time, what do people think? How do they feel about it? What motivates them?
What do they value?
What do they value in what you're doing? What do they value in what your competitors are doing?
Yep.
What's your differentiation? Do they understand it? All of that comes from human beings. Those are the surveys and the focus groups.
Absolutely. So, needs and values and beliefs.
So we start with research.
Yep.
We collect the data. We analyze the data.
Yep.
We come from that, understand some smart ways to move forward, some ways that will be less effective, some things we should not do or avoid.
Right.
Those are weaknesses and things. We talk about opportunities and threats, things like global pandemics and World War III would be on your SWOT. And if it's not on your SWOT right now, you better put it there. That's right.
Darn right.
Put it on there. So that is being informed.
Right.
Starting with information, starting with data, real world, not your opinion.
Right.
Your opinion isn't data.
Too much business going on with seat of the pants judgments. And
and that getting lucky or having hope, and hope is not a strategy.
Right. That's exactly right.
Episode 144, the single most important key to success. The reason focus is so important is ultimately running a successful business is management of change.
Right.
Business is always changing. All of the things that go into a business, all the competition, all of the parameters in the market, some things you can control, some things you can't. But running a successful business is, as simple as you can say it, the management of change.
Absolutely.
Every day is different.
Absolutely.
How will you manage that change? That change, the best way to manage that change is to be disciplined in your focus.
And focusing on the disruptions that cause that change.
Yes. Focus on what's happening, what's changing, why it changed. Mm-hmm. Can you control it? Is it within your control or is it outside of your control? Is it something that is going to affect your bottom line today, next month, next year, etc.? So you have to be focused in all these areas and always coming back to the decision that makes sense across multiple ways of getting to it. But you can only do that if you're focused in your process.
Absolutely. And you may not have make a decision or have a solution that completely solves the problem. That's where focus comes in. Yes. What part of this can I moderate, affect positively?
How can I start moving in the right direction and then continually refine that process?
Absolutely.
Continually manage the change.
Absolutely.
So they say the devil's in the details.
Ooh, boy, howdy.
So pay attention to the details.
Yep.
How do you pay attention to details? You focus.
You focus, right.
You got to understand the big picture, but you have to focus on details because it's small changes. When we say the management of change, small changes, not radical changes, not throw that away and start over, not pivoting on the regular. There's a reason that you should pivot one time ever. You're not pivoting and pivoting back, right? You're not pivoting every 60 days, every 90 days.
And we've talked about this.
We've talked about that, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You pay attention to these small details, make these small adjustments, move in the direction of a better outcome, and that attention to detail will allow you to find and make the adjustments necessary. Episode 146, Professional Podcast Types for Business. That B2B podcasting could be very beneficial. It's one thing to tell people, hey, we're great consultants. We're great business consultants. Well, that's an interesting thing to say. Is it true or not? So why not explain your process?
Yeah.
Explain how you get from a blank sheet of paper to a business plan or a crisis communication protocol or a training system or a cost-saving process. How do you get from we just met to we're solving problems and fixing things in your business together as the consultant, as the client? Explain the process.
Yep.
And again, it's not about selling you, but when you explain the process, if someone connects with how you do business and what you're offering, they feel like they need it and they feel like you're a subject matter expert and your approach is similar enough to what their approach would be if they had the expertise, then you have the potential to have a client relationship.
Yeah, and you're much more likely to do business with somebody you have a relationship with than somebody cold off the street.
You can also offer up some behind the scenes and some insights into the individuals, to the personalities, to the people. The people behind the business.
Hey, the people make the business.
That's right. That's why a podcast allows them to speak in their own voice and do things like we're doing here, but communicate as directly as possible as human beings as we talk about the business and the value for other businesses.
Yeah.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah, it does make perfect sense.
There's also just your brand story. We talked a little bit about in B2C, your why and your brand story. It's absolutely essential and beneficial to do that in a B2B setting as well. Episode 149, how to be a good B2B client and service provider. No one is ever taught how to be a good client.
Oh, okay. Right.
So, and we're in the B2B space. We deal with clients on a regular basis that are business owners and decision makers, et cetera, right? So I got to thinking about how can we help our B2B clients be better clients?
Absolutely.
Right? But at the same time I started making my notes for this, I realized that the advice I would give for how to be a good client is also the advice I would give for how to be a good service provider.
Yeah, right.
Whether you're the B in the B2B or the B in the other B,
the other B in the
first
B2B.
B or the second B in that combination, this advice goes for you.
Yeah, perfect.
And so we have 4 kind of key points here that I'll break down into detail. Focus, honesty, expectations, communication, and the 5th one, the bonus, partnership.
Oh, right. AKA collaboration.
That's right. Very much collaboration for creating partnership. Episode 151. Everyone wants to be a gangster until everyone wants to be a gangster.
Yeah.
Until it's time to act like a gangster.
Until it's time to do some gangster stuff.
That's right. Everyone sees it on TV. They see it in movies. They see it in The Sopranos, and they think, I could be that guy. I could be that girl.
Yeah.
Probably can't.
Until you have to be.
That's right. Running a business is the same way. Being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, being the boss.
Right.
It looks great.
Right.
Sounds great. It's easy on TV. It's easy in the movies. But the actual execution is a lot harder than that. And there's a lot of gangster stuff you got to do if you're going to be the person in charge.
All right. Well, tell us some more about that.
All right. So here we go. Because starting and managing business, you have the most opportunities right now today to start and run a successful business than there's ever been in the history of the world.
Well, yeah, I'd agree with that.
Thanks to technology and communication and other aspects of daily life for all of us. And a lot of people are doing that. Right. The Great Recession, the Great Resignation. Are people quitting their corporate jobs, if you will, or regular day jobs and starting their own businesses and working for themselves or working from home, et cetera.
Right.
But again, it's harder than it looks.
Right.
And to be really successful, it takes a ton of effort and grit. So I want to motivate you. If you have the idea about running a business, starting a business, yes, go for it. But understand here's what to expect, because you need to go into it with clear eyes.
Absolutely.
Episode 154, Business Process Management. The last couple of words for me are the most important of this whole sentence.
Okay.
Sustainable business growth and longevity.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Again, sustainable.
Sustainable.
We don't want to sell something once.
Right.
We want to have sustainable business. We want to do well every day.
Right.
We want to build on past successes to create better, bigger successes and bigger opportunities, because we build sustainable business.
Right.
Not just one time, not just flash in the pan. We don't want to go viral.
Right.
Don't go viral. Be sustainable.
Be sustainable.
Sustainable businesses last 100 years. Viral, flash in the pans last 30 seconds, and you probably can only capitalize on 1% of the potential.
Right, if that.
Right. Business growth and longevity.
Yep.
I've said many times on this podcast, but I'll say it again because I think it's important. It's one of the key factors in my thought process. A business needs to always be growing.
Yeah.
If you're not growing, at least you're stagnant. If worse, you're contracting, or you're moving in the right direction. You're backsliding, etc. However you want to describe it. If you're not moving up, if you're not growing, if you're not doing better, if you're not adding to the business every day because of the lessons that you learned yesterday and the day before and the day before, if you're not growing in that way, then you are stagnant or backsliding.
Well, and there's lots of research that says that the learning organization is the successful organization.
Right.
And when we talk crisis communications from this Omer Seeger Sell Now perspective, organizational learning is absolutely key.
Yeah. And in longevity, it goes back to sustainability, longevity again. We're not trying to help you build a business that'll last for 2 years. We're not trying to help you create a marketing campaign that will sell something one time.
Right.
Sustainability and longevity. Because the more longevity you build into the business, the more structure you create, more adherence to the business process management, the more that you can predict and manage and organize and even bank on how you move forward in the future, as opposed to hoping that it works out. Because you know what they say about hope as a strategy?
Yeah, it ain't.
Episode 155, Social Analytics Tools for Crisis Communications.
I mean, I thought about this podcast and should I be addressing the PR professionals or should I be addressing the CEOs? Well, I think the PR professionals will pull something from this, but I'm really aiming at helping the CEO understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Right. So for the leader of that organization, there are a number of advantages to using social analytics, some of which we've talked about, others we haven't. Okay. Obviously, it alerts you to events as they happen.
Right.
So,
and probably the number one asset of social media is the timeliness.
Absolutely. And that also gives you the ability to react faster.
Yes.
And we all know speed is an issue.
It is.
Especially in crisis communication.
If you're too slow or too fast, you're going to have trouble.
Exactly. And our mantra is 1 hour.
1 hour.
Right. Keeps it relevant, but it allows your choir to jump in.
Use every bit of that hour.
Social analytics also allows your response to be a little bit more efficient. We've all seen situations where an organization who is embroiled in a crisis will say something and it's totally off kilter, off script, irrelevant, or just plain harmful.
And typically more reactionary than thought out.
And exactly. Tone deaf, I think, is what I was looking for.
Sure.
And that happens because, one, you're trying too fast, but two, you don't understand the situation completely.
And it also goes back to those small things. If you don't take the time to comb over the details, sometimes it's a phrase or even a single word in a statement that can make the whole thing 180 of what you anticipated it being.
Absolutely.
Don't hang yourself on using the wrong vocabulary or the wrong colloquialisms or jargon, etc.
Right. Exactly. I think the more you can understand a situation, the more you can understand your audience, the more effective your response is going to be.
100%. Absolutely.
So, and then and we don't think about this all the time, but it gives you the social analytics give you the ability to gather other information that would otherwise be impossible.
Yes.
For instance, the presence of crowdsourced photos and video. Okay, the news organizations are out there and they're looking for that stuff. Yep. Everybody wants the witness/victim, right? But there are also your choirs out there, and your choir wants to help, and so sometimes they do provide that crowdsourced information that's valuable to your and it helps you understand the impact of those photos and videos.
You know, these days they say video or didn't happen.
Right.
And that's positive and negative.
Right.
So, you know, maybe you're trying to say it wasn't as bad as people think, and the video could prove that to be true, or could prove you to be 100% in the wrong. Exactly. So, you know, and you also have to assume there is video.
Yep, absolutely. And social analytics also help you, and this may sound a little bit, well, I'll just let you figure out how it sounds, right? But channels and the reach of information. And you can't find that unless you're analyzing the social environment, the social side of this thing.
True. Right? And you can't wait till the crisis happens to put your toe into each of the channels, the platforms, build your audience, etc. You have to have these relationships already in place so that when the time comes that it isn't self-serving and reactionary, but it is building relationships and relying on relationships that are already established.
Right. But I would also say, and we talked about this before, the use of social media platforms as it's appropriate to your organization.
Yes.
There are some places, I mean, TikTok is just crazy.
Right. Now. But not for every brand.
But not for every brand. Exactly.
Episode 156, how to avoid quiet quitting and quiet firing. Work with your boss, not against your boss.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So come in, work hard, and then go home. Right?
Right.
That's work-life balance. Work hard, give 100%, and then go home.
I actually don't like that word balance. I think it's work-life integration.
I think you're right that balance is, because it does, balance tends to
it's never going to
create
balance.
A 50-50.
Right. It's never going to balance.
But it should have some flow to it.
Absolutely. You should be able to integrate both your work and your life.
We talk a lot on this podcast about the fact that doing business in today, 2022, fourth quarter, 2022, here we are, is different than 2 years ago, 5 years ago, and absolutely different than 20, 30, 50 years ago. Just night and day differences. So the key to having a successful business at any time, but definitely at this time period, is the adaptability of your organization, of your departments, of your team members, and of the people involved. Sometimes you have to adapt because the market goes sideways, or because COVID shuts half the company down, or whatever supply chain issue, whatever it is that is, well, we're not going to work a standard 9 to 5, 40-hour week this week, but in a week or two, I'll try my best to catch you back up. That adaptability of and working with your boss, not against your boss. I'm not excited about working overtime, but if you'll give me an extra vacation day or extra time or a bonus, whether it's cash or time off or whatever motivates you, if you just talk to your boss. Just have conversations with them. At the very least, understand where they're coming from. Let them understand where you're coming from. Adapt, just like we give businesses that advice. Employees should take that same advice. Then it makes you more valuable, more of a integral part of the team. That's where you end up getting your bonuses, your promotions, and get to move up that ladder and get more responsibility. You have more you want to work for. You create a cycle of positive as opposed to a cycle of negative.
Yep.
Thanks for listening to the Golding Group Strategic Growth Podcast. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Tell a friend, leave a review, and engage with us on social media. To contact us, please visit thegoldinggroup.com.